Hello and welcome to a special episode of Last Week in Quantum. This special episode is called Next Year in Quantum, where we will talk about all the upcoming trends in the world of quantum computing and its impacts of cybersecurity, AI, and more. I'm Trina and I'll be your host today. And with us to discuss it is Rebecca Krothamer, co-founder and chief product officer at QSecure. She's also a Stanford Symbolic Systems graduate in 2013, Forbes 30 Under 30 in 2020 for quantum computing, and named top 12 women in quantum computing as well, and a Global Futures Council for the World Economic Forum. Thank you so much for joining me today, Rebecca.
Thanks, Trina. It is always a pleasure to talk to you.
Awesome. So, starting off, every conversation about quantum this year has something to do with the quantum threat to cybersecurity. There was even a major Netflix movie that came out about it, about a quantum computer being used to decrypt and process all the world's data. So let's start there. What do you predict for 2024 in quantum and cyber?
Yeah, every conversation I have about quantum, it comes back to the cybersecurity side because it's top of everyone's mind. And this one, we don't even have to really predict because it's just a fact. Next year, huge year for cybersecurity because NIST, kind of the body that standardizes what we use to encrypt data, what we use to protect data, and a number of other things, they are standardizing next year. They have officially said, this is what's happening. Here are your algorithms. And this is what will officially usher in the post RSA era. And it's called post quantum encryption, right? And so, huge deal. What they're calling post quantum resilient encryption, of course, that will be top of everyone's like organizational roadmaps for companies. Us as consumers will start to see products where our data is like handled start to offer post quantum encryption. So things like messaging apps and banking applications, electronic health records, things like that. We'll start to see those be post quantum. Which is amazing, right? Because that's what we need to start having to protect our data into the future. And if applications do not support that, we'll start to see consumers demand that because people now understand the risk of store now decrypt later, and how our data, if it's not properly encrypted in this now official way as of 2024, then that's just unacceptable. So I think it's going to be a really, really, really fun year and exciting to start seeing our data encryption get more mature and come into like the public consciousness.
Definitely. I see that branding will start to be more visible. People will want to see like it's quantum secure. So great take. Exciting stuff. And
Sure.
and we can't have a podcast without talking about AI. How might we see some of the advances?
2023 is the year of AI.
Yeah, exactly. How might we see some of the advances we've seen broadly in the AI space come into play in the quantum ecosystem?
Yeah, absolutely. Two great buzzwords, right? Quantum and AI. And I think for me, it boils down to two areas. The first is AI will actually help us develop better quantum technology. So it's been said that it took many decades to mature, like get from the early days of classical computing to where we are today, right? But it's been said that because we have better tools to build quantum computers and to accelerate the advancement of quantum computers, that the time to maturity for quantum will be a lot shorter. And in these, namely AI, right, as a tool to help us research and develop more advanced ways to build quantum computers. So that's one cool way that the AI is going to come into play. And then the second, of course, is AI in the cybersecurity realm as well, using AI to do things like beat up algorithms, like these algorithms that NIST is standardizing on next year. So AI will be used more and more as like a force for good in the cybersecurity world. Of course, there's another side to that, but we'll talk about that later. But I think that's a very cool use of it, right? Beating up cybersecurity so we remain one step ahead of bad actors, as we call them in cyber.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Love it. Um, one other topic I feel like you always touch about, and thank you for being on all of our Last Week in Quantum episodes just thus far, but you definitely always hound in on use cases. Um, and I definitely want to see, like, in your take, what can we expect for use cases in the quantum field next year?
So I think this is what I'm most excited about for 2024.
Definitely.
Um, so IBM, right? They are working very hard on quantum hardware, and they kind of often lead the public awareness around quantum hardware development or building quantum computers. And IBM has traditionally had this roadmap where they say we're going to build X number of qubits or build this chip by this time, and they're known for meeting these goals, right? And so we saw this past year, IBM came out with 1,000 qubits. Atom Computing actually came out first with 1,000 qubits. So 2023 was the year of 1,000 qubits. Super exciting. The qubit count is not everything when it comes to quantum effectiveness. But one thing I want to point out on IBM's roadmap is that they're calling 2024 the year of identifying quantum utility. Whereas, like in the past, it was overcoming technical barriers. 2024 is being identified as the year of like, okay, we've overcome a lot of these barriers. Let's find an instance of quantum usefulness. And so, again, you hear as someone reading the news around quantum, you hear a lot of stuff about like boson sampling or qubit count. And what at the end of the day you need to be listening for is now I hear about a use case where quantum is actually effective. Whether it's I used quantum for route optimization for self-driving fleets of cars, and now it's super efficient, or we were able to apply quantum to enhanced battery technology that's very much more efficient, or we're using it to solve greenhouse gas emissions problems or for chemistry. So the things that you recognize as being cool, and you will hear, like when that day comes, you will hear about it in the news. And as soon as you recognize it, that's the most important thing. And I think it's very, very possible that 2024, as IBM's calling it, right, the year of quantum utility, and that will be a very big deal when that happens.
Exciting stuff. I really can't wait to see what unfolds. Um, we also always talk about, quantum being like this whole new frontier, and, the market is continuously like progressing. What are some investments you see from a global standpoint, and being on the World Economic Forum? I'm sure you hear a lot of that. Um,
Yeah, I think I'm very excited about this year, and that's something we've in those groups that that I get the opportunity to be part of talk a lot about is that in early investment in quantum plays such a pivotal role, and the sustained investment to help us, reach really important quantum milestones.
mhm.
Hugely important from both like government funding, venture capital funding. Um, and I think we'll see it pick up a lot next year as, again, like cyber makes everyone think about quantum, and quantum becomes more and more part of our day-to-day vernacular. We've seen previously like a lot of governments investing in quantum, right? The U.S. has put in, north of $1 billion. So has a lot of Europe. China's put in upwards of $15 billion, right? I think my prediction is that, especially in the U.S., we'll see a lot more money going into quantum advancement. Um, and as well as Europe. There are a lot of countries like the Netherlands are making really big strides. The UK are making really big strides in quantum. And I think we'll see a lot more investment from that perspective. And as venture capital, investment in like earlier stage companies, right? I think it had slowed down a little bit in 2023 and 2022, but I think we'll see it pick up quite a bit. And that to me is very exciting because it helps to foster and build this sustainable ecosystem. And of course, like, accelerate our path to development and some of these really exciting quantum use cases that we'll start to see over the coming years.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so exciting to see, like, from a global effort, like where we're progressing and how the funding is coming in. So thank you so much for sharing all those insights with us today. That's it for our show. And I'm Trina. Thank you guys for joining us. And with me has been Rebecca Crothermer, co-founder and chief product officer at QSecure. So thank you so much. We'll see y'all next year on Last Week in Quantum.
Happy New Year.